product selling on the website. Then comes the product affinity. So this is where, again, the confidence level of the purchasing of the buyer increases very highly, where if the website can show whoever bought X also bought Y, that lifts the confidence to very high level, so that it actually tells them, you know what, a buyer like you who bought something in X also bought Y. So buying the confidence and buying propensity of buying Y is so high if they see a similar association of product was sold for a similar buyers. To make it very simple, if you see somebody buying whatever you wanted to buy, and if you see somebody else buying also what they bought, you will also go for it. That is exactly what it is looking like. And in this example, we just picked up the reversible mats. Whoever bought this also bought a cotton towel, right? So that's how it works. So now I'm moving on to the next slide, where it talks about intelligent shopping agents. In absence of real agents, what you normally experience in a shopping mall, you don't have that in online, right? So if you give an online agent experience for the users, where the agent can give you some suggestions and advices, you will probably be more associated as an individual helping you to buy what you wanted to buy. This was originally implemented by Amazon a long time back, and it is actually helping them a lot in converting some of the small-time buyers into real-time buyers. So this is another way of attracting the customers by use of various ways of connecting with them in a direct fashion. Then if you just pick the eBay, one of the website, this is a customized customization that eBay builds for their buyers based on their pattern of buying or selling or their viewing. This is one of the buyer who normally goes in and looks for watch or iPhone or whatever. So eBay connects all the buying, all the inventory based on the individual patterns of the particular user. So he likes motors, he likes electronics, he likes collectibles, and it will show you all the interest that person was actually been going through for the last few weeks or few months, or the wish list, or the recent searches that he made. And for all good reasons, if there are some good deals coming up, that will be popping up for the user connecting. You know what, you wanted to buy an iPhone, there's a good deal on iPhone. You wanted to buy probably a Rolex watch, there's a good deal on Rolex. Maybe it's not available, but I'm just saying. So that is how they connect the buyers, so that they feel that somebody really making a shopping mart or shopping mart only for them. That's giving the customization. This is actually helping eBay in a big way, right? I mean, assuming if you are a user, you go every day and you see all that you wanted to buy with all the good deals, I'm sure there is going to be at least 80 to 90% of the time you would definitely want to buy what you wanted to buy, right? And then I'm moving on to the next aspect. So this is another way of attracting the customer is, how do we understand the customer pattern or behavior of his shopping exercise, right? So as a user, if you take yourself as a user, you go to a shop, and sometimes it doesn't have to be the same pattern. Doesn't mean you buy a cell phone, you always buy a headphone. Sometimes you buy a cell phone, you also buy a cigarette, or you may buy a cool drink. And if it is going to be patterned multiple times, which means, or normally you don't buy a cell phone every day, anything that you buy on a regular basis, like for instance, we did an analysis, diaper and a beer. So I'll just come back. I want to just maintain this stuff for next two slides. Just keep this diaper and beer in your mind, and there's a hidden pattern in this, which you will see in the next slide. So how do we analyze a hidden pattern of a customer with his behavior pattern, right? And within the hidden pattern. So if you move on to the next slide, this is primarily of a this is a box which shows a table which shows about a transaction ID of a particular user, where he bought product F, A, C. The F, A, C is all about product that he bought, or item he bought, or a transaction. This is one particular transaction of a particular user. So he bought F, A, C, whatever. Then the transaction 200. Another buyer also bought A, B, C, F, L, M, and O. Then another product, another user bought product 300. The transaction is 300. He brought product from B to O. then the next transaction is B to P, the next transaction is A to N. These are different users. But if you see there's a pattern here, most of the users are buying A, C, and M. So what it means, so which means ACM is the most bought product, at least in this particular store, online store. What could it mean? So if you know that, you will make sure the inventory for those is always kept for all the users, or at least 80%, 60% users in this particular. The 5 transaction, close to 3, at least 3 users were buying A, C, and M as a product, right? And similarly, you can do analysis for rest of the stuff also. There are B and C, which is also being mostly used. So these are useful for the store, online stores, to make sure they always have inventory to invest, so that they can always have those inventory for the customers when they actually wanted it. So again, you see diaper and beer. So what does that diaper and beer indicates? That's pretty much a predictive modeling where it helps. This is one of the analyses which happened in the Europe, where a particular person used to always buy a diaper and a beer. How can it be possible? Diaper and a beer, diaper is normally used for the kids, or mostly used for the kids, and beer is for a guy or somebody who likes beer, and of course it has to be major, right? He cannot be under 18. And how can this be a possible scenario? So then there was an analysis conducted on how this pattern could be possible. Then they found it to be, there's a single parent guy, he has a kid, and he likes beer, and he's buying diaper for the kids. So what happens at home? So this is what it is. So he goes and he changes the diaper and puts his kid for the sleep. And normally kid sleeps probably whenever he changes the diaper. And he likes drinking beer, just has a peaceful drink after he changes the diaper. So this is a very unique and a different hidden pattern. This is not a normal pattern at all. But understanding this pattern, if it is going to be used or if it can be replicated by most of the single parent who is a guy, and probably this works, right? This is how a pattern is analyzed in a hidden way. So that's one way of getting into the predictive modeling. Coming on, when talking about the predictive modeling is mostly analyzed at product level and the location level at the merchant level. So I hope you understand. A product which is very commonly sold in US doesn't have to be sold in India. And the same merchant, Walmart is the majority of the sales which is connected to all the customers in the US, and Walmart doesn't exist in India. So what are the other? Probably Reliance, probably Spencer's, whatever, right? Some of the common brands that is sold. So the product that is sold in the US doesn't have to be sold in India, and within India, some of the urban location doesn't have to carry the same products that is being sold in the rural. And the merchant who normally sells any products in the rural doesn't have to be selling the same product in an urban area. So that is how it is actually being managed as a predictive model. So it's a black box as far as the users are concerned. It doesn't have to be completely kept in open way of world. But as far as the customers, as far as the merchant or the online merchant is concerned, they have to be very, very clear about who are their customers and what is the location the customers are actually coming up with. Then what are the products the customers are normally sold. If you go to the next slide, this talks about how a decision tree is normally happens is somebody getting into a website, right? So if you are a user, you go to a website and going to the website, you're making a decision, should I go to a website or you want to go to an online store or an offline store? And okay, probably you go online. 70% of people goes to online also. Then probably, what it means is that 100% were distributed. 91 plus 70 is not 100. It is the same person can also go to online or offline. That is how it is. You have to read about it. So going to online store, 70% of them feels, okay, let me go to online. And 91% of them feel, you know what, let me go to offline. So within that, imagine the number of sale, the volume of sale that happens. In online, there are 1.7 trillion worth of, in offline, there's 1.7 trillion worth of sales happens. in offline only. There are people who go to online, but they feel, you know what, no, I'm perfectly okay. Let me go check the store of the product. Probably I would want to check the product to buy it on offline, and probably, I go to, I'm sorry guys, I go to online, check the product, let me get the deal, and I'll go to offline. The amount of sale is 1.1 trillion. The offline sale is like still more than 10 times of what happens in online. In online, if you see, 190 billion is what the online retail business that happens at this point in time. This is all US data. And then 13 billion transactions are happening through the mobile sales. Generally in online, we have close to 200 billion odd transaction happens with the volume sales of 200 billion. And for offline, it's close to 2.8 trillion worth of sales that happens in sales. So which means if online has to be stronger, they need to make sure they can replicate the offline model in online as interactive, as effective, and with a very good experience for the customer to be increasing in the online world. And then comes locations. There was an analysis in terms of where does or how many sales are happening keeping the store closer versus far from the home. So in the US, they did an analysis. Anytime if a customer have to drive to a store, probably 5 miles or 10 miles, the possibility of them buying more is very high. What it means is, since normally it's a customer behavior, right? Since he's out of home for a good reason of shopping, which means he's a serious shopper to start with. Then comes, since he's out there for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever comes on his mind, he touches and feels, you know what, let me go buy this. So the amount of sales that happens for the farther location of the retail store is very, very high than a store being the local. The general myth is, if the store is closer, I can come back and just walk by and get it, but now most of the times you won't normally buy. And if it is farther, you don't want to keep going back and forth. Since you are there, let me go buy. That's how the consumer behavior and brain works. This is another analysis of the customer location-based analysis. So in a nutshell, so I'm just getting into the last slide. In a nutshell, so the most important aspect is now you would know how much data can tell you how to do the business and where to do the business and who to do the business, right? It's very, very important. So making the data work to delighting the customer is very, very important, because a lot of investment is happening in terms of market analysis and the target marketing also, not specific to general marketing. Imagine if you go to a TV shop and every advertisement you see is all about TV, which means you are a serious customer to buy a TV. If you can get a good deal, you'll definitely get it. If the same advertisement, if you go to a medical store, if you see a TV, will you be interested in buying? Will that advertisement make any sense to you? That is what is called targeted marketing, to make sure at least 60 to 70% of the time targeted marketing hits a customer and the sales is actually made. So that gives you specific analysis of the data that gives for the customer. That is very, very important. Then managing the customer relationship is also very, very important. Cross-selling. So you basically you go for something and you also buy something else. How can we do that? Like go to a coffee shop, and you normally go for a coffee shop, they upsell it with samosas and sell it with cake or whatever comes today's deal for you, sir. Just take this. You buy a coffee, you also get this for free, and probably they would have increased the price for coffee also. That is kind of a cross-selling, selling some of the product aligned with what you normally buy. So these are all the good aspects of it, which is a good problem to have. As you get better and better, you get more sales and you grow your income. The most important aspect in online is risk analysis. How can you forecast the data? How can you forecast the customer behavior? And how can you retain the customer? There is an analysis. The investment made on acquiring new customer, and the same investment, if you can invest on retaining the customer, you have a good chance of making more sales. It's basically building a loyalty customer. As the existing customer happy, you actually mouth-to-mouth marketing for your product is actually very high, and personal connection of customer to customer gains more customer retention than you just upselling something. So how do you retain the customer is very, very, very important. Every company in the world is fighting to retain the customers, and every online they're fighting to retain their customers. Then comes how do we maintain the data quality so that when you do the analysis, the right data you use for the data analysis so that you make the right decisions. That's a very, very important and a very nascent state of it, and most of the companies are investing a lot in data quality. Then comes the competitive analysis. How can you analyze yourself compared to your peer? Can the data give you that information so that you know what is the best way to invest so that you can get the best ROI? Then with online comes the next aspect of the fraud detection. How can you make sure there's an unusual pattern you see in a customer which is actually probably somebody else is using your data in the wrong way, or some other user is using some of your user information, trying to get into your system and just stealing some of whatever your transaction or whatever it is. Basically, online fraud detection is very, very important for any online trading. So technically speaking, the last 3 points what I wanted to close up with is how effectively you can use the data in a strategic manner for a competitive advantage, because everybody is in the market trying to take your own pie of the market. So how competitive you can be using the data is very, very important. Then comes how can you integrate all the data sources to know exactly when and how to manage your customers for retaining and increasing your sales. Then the third advantage, the third important aspect is how can you use the data, and using the data, how can you drive the organization with the strong analytics culture. Anybody in this particular era of the commerce world, everybody is wanting to invest in data-driven organization so that they can analyze their future for the next 1 year or a couple of years, 3 years, so that they can invest in the right place and also get the right revenue. So with that comes, I hope you will believe data is so important, and I'm sure you will all will understand the new currency of the world is data. So with that, my session ends. I think I'm closer to time. I'm sorry for taking a little over time, and really thank everybody.